Hey everyone, Corrie Thorne coming in to do my monthly channel message for uh, the energy forecast for the month of November. This is being recorded on November the 3rd. And please remember, this is not a personal reading, and this is about the energy that is out there. That is what is happening outside. And so I channel in through the divine, through the angelic realm, through the holy realm, and I ask for what is of the highest good, what is going to serve us best. What do we do, even if even if it feels like a darker energy or a lower vibrating energy, even if it's the weather, whatever it is, how do we bring that into us to bring forth a sense of light? Like how do we see the light, and where do we need to see the light? And that kind of is the message of this month, is where do we create, how can we start poking holes into the old, into these stories, into those paradigms that were fed and fueled, and that what keeps us from being able to see light. Where can we shine a light in our own story, in our own truth? Where are we allowing ourselves to let that energy leak out? And so what really comes up in a lot of this month for me, and what we are existing in and what we're experiencing, is the fact that we have either, which we keep dividing, even as humans. Like, it just feels like, even in a place of compassion and sympathy, is that we keep doing the more or less than, or the divide, and who needs more, who needs this, who needs that, and who gets this, and who gets the best treatment, and who gets this. And and I just feel like that's like an added fuel to a fire. And that added fuel to the fire is that, the whole human race as a collective are impacted by what is happening within this world. Everybody is, one way or the other, being affected. There is nobody who is more or less than. No matter what role you play, no matter what job you have, it has had some sort of emotional or spiritual or some sort of financial, like, effect. And because it is that, it's like being squished and squeezed through something that we never asked for, we never contributed to. We're not to blame for where we are. We take responsibility for our role that we play in our world, but, well, some of us do. But that whole sense of, like, we're just being, like, I keep reading, and it keeps, and every time the channel sees or reads it through me, it's like, oh, why can we not move beyond divide? And that division and divide is so, that more or less, or greater or better than, or less than, or you're more impacted than that person, and da da da. Everyone in the world is impacted, and everyone is on a different level. And if you are if you're a stay-at-home mom, and you have to deal with your children when they come home, or your family, or your husband, and you're not always out into the world, it doesn't mean that you're not less than somebody who's out there working in the industries that is impacted. It doesn't mean that, and so we're all a part of this. We're all in this together. And until we come into this together, until we bring ourselves together as the everyday people, as the everyday people, and we create an equality in that hierarchy of knowing that we can have people at the top and people that are working on those lower levels, but we all have an equality in dignity, respect, in worthiness, and understanding that all humans are equal. All humans deserve the same equal, dignity being shown to them. And then, of course, you are responsible for your actions. So if you do something that's out of alignment, if you do something that's really cruel to another human, then there is that sense of your responsibility, or you having to take responsibility, or you being held accountable for your actions. And that's where that justice comes in. But then there's a whole world that is not, that has done nothing, and is being held accountable, being charged and having to be witness to a whole lot of what is happening in the world that has nothing to do with you. And so I feel like this month, and I'm going to bring it back up again, is you're seeing that sense of, you're going to see that whole kind of secrets kind of coming, like things are coming unraveled. So there's an unraveling. And I spoke about this, I think, in the Scorpio reading. I said, imagine, so, and like apparently like some of the planets are back into alignment of where they were, say 300, 200, like over, years ago, of when something was going down. So whether it's the, 1800s or whenever it was. So apparently, according to the astrologers, is that, and I don't know the exact dates, and we don't remember that. That's not how we work. And so the way that we're seeing it, the way that I'm seeing it, is elastic band. And when you take an elastic and you wrap it around and wrap it around and wrap it around, and then you tell yourself, oh, I could just make it a little, I can just improve it a little bit more. I can just wrap it a little bit tighter. I can narrow this down. Like I can get one group, one cluster, one whatever. And then the elastic band snaps because there's so much tension. And that's the energy we're in right now, is that we have so much tension. We've pulled things so tight. And we, even in trying to be of service and being of help, so many people that are trying to be of service and being of help are still narrowing down and still clustering in who is struggling and who is suffering most. And that's just another narrative that feeds and fuels into and causes more tension. How about we just, say we are all a part, right? There is a sense that everyone is a part. And then we have another hierarchy that is not really a part, but speaking and pretending and playing the part of, oh, I feel for you. I get you. I understand you. We know where you're coming from. And we want to call out that energy and say, that's not a truth. That's an outright not a truth. And so exploring that truth and looking at that truth in a more expansive way, or a more bring it in way, is, let's bring this into us. So bring it into, this is what we're witnessing and experiencing within the world. But it's not about the world. These channeled messages I give you about the world, but it's not about the world. It's about you. And it's like, you can't change the world, but you can be the change in your own world and in your own life. And where do we bring that light in? So how do we be a brighter light? How do we be a change? It's in how we really truly bring attention to our language, to how we communicate, to how we speak to ourselves, and how we separate ourselves from everyone else, how we separate ourselves and divide ourselves. Says, I don't belong anywhere. I don't belong of this world. I don't fit into this world. If you didn't belong of this world, you wouldn't be in this world. You wouldn't have been put here as this human being. You are here. I'm like, and so I'm not strong enough for these times, or, I'm not one of the fortunate people. I'm not one of the people that the world, that hierarchy is actually caring for. Well, maybe not, but are you caring for you? Are you doing what you need to do for you? What are you doing on your part to be that, to care for you? And, where are you dividing and separating yourself from you? So it's like, how far away are you from you? When we look at personalization, personal care, when we look at, being triggered and responding and reacting a specific way, when we look at that whole being able to feel like, being able to regulate and control our environment and our world, what are you controlling? And by avoiding and totally ignoring and neglecting to look at things that need to be explored, you're only going to have to go through it again. And so when you can bring yourself into that place of grounding, rooting, stability, you know that you can meet those challenges and you can free yourself of taking that world so personally and being so defined by it, or believing it to be, well, they're saying the only people that are really important are these, or the only people, the ones that are struggling the most or suffering the most is this or is that. Well, you can believe that to be true, or you can let it define you and get angry at the world out there, or you can look into yourself and say, well, where am I? Where am I not caring enough about myself that I'm putting focus everywhere else? What am I not doing? What am I feeding? What am I feeding into me? What do I need to start to make a change in my life so that I can feel more grounded and rooted? Where do I need to be that in my own self? And that journey really truly begins with you. It does. And we've all been impacted. There's no doubt. And and if you are a part of that impact, then how can I how do they want to put this for you? How do I prepare? How do I prepare myself for who I'm becoming in my tomorrows? And so the energy is really truly like it brings us into such compassion for people who have been trying to live their dreams or living their dreams, and that world that's trying to kind of squish out, trying to squish out and trying to squeeze out. So there is a big competitive energy that's out there. And that competitive energy is almost like trying to squeeze out the everyday people and it's like they've squeezed out all the juice out of all the everyday people, and they put it in a glass and they're drinking the juice, right? It's like squeezing that orange and taking the best out of it, but you left you leave the rest of the orange, but you squeezed out the best part of it and you drink it and you're the only one drinking it. Well, that's kind of what the world energy is like right now. And it's squeezing out that best of us. So, but what can we do with the pulp? What can we do with the pulp? What can we do with the rinds? The most valuable part is probably in the rinds because, what's in the rinds and what's in the pulp may have more value than what's in the juice, because the juice is a one-time deal, and the pulp and the oil and, from the peels, all that stuff may go a whole lot farther than you just having that one gulp, that one drink. And so it is about consistency. It's about longevity. It is about what do we need to do what do I need to do to be strong to get through the long haul, the long run. And I know in my personal journey, I started to really look through my bank and look at the places where that industry really truly have had such a hold as a business. I thought I needed a debit machine for years. So I've held on to the debit machine, waiting for the day to go back out into the world. So it's like all these things that I've been holding on to, waiting, waiting to go back, waiting to go back. So I'm like, oh, all of my teaching manuals, all of my candle holders, all of my, like all these things that I would set up for events, or all these things that I would create, and all these booklets, pamphlets that I've created over the years. And then my debit machine. And then I started to look really close, and I opened up the closet, and I opened up my heart, and I opened up my bank account, and I looked at everything, and I'm like, I'm paying $200 a month to have a debit machine sitting there waiting to go back. Why? When my payments were online. So then I looked deeper again. And this is what I want you to do within you. You're the debit machine. You're the one that's allowing a debit machine to be in you, thinking that you need it, right? Stories allowing you to think that you need it. So when I looked in and I looked deeper, I'm like, okay, I'm paying $200. Why am I still paying that amount of money? Why am I paying so much money? Well, the debit machine, which now looks like it's from the Ark, it's old. I've been in business for a lot of years. The debit machine is old. I thought, or I assumed, and I didn't really look back because my first machine was a payout. Somewhere along the line, they changed the rules, and you no longer bought out your machine. You only continually, for the rest of your days, rented the machine. So this machine that is useless, that's outdated, that doesn't matter, either which way, you'd never own it. It's always on rent, and you're only ever renting it out, and it's never yours. And I'm sitting here paying for it. And so I'm paying the price to keep this, paying a large amount of money to keep this industry out there going. and for me to be able to still be able to give service that maybe someday I'll be going back out in person. Well, I've given up. I took everything out of the closet yesterday. I shredded all the old manuals. I shredded all the books. I bought the debit machine back to UPS, put it in the mail, sent it back to the company, canceled my machine, did all of that yesterday. And I just said, I'm letting it all out of the closet. There is no going back. There's no going back to the way things used to be. I'm done holding on to even that thought or that dream or that part. Not saying I won't be amongst people anymore, but when I go amongst people, I will be coming forth as who I am. And I will not have that debit machine tied to me. There is a sense of this self that we are the ones who keep giving the power to the power, right? We're the ones that keep giving the power to the places that we are complaining about, or that's sucking the juice out of us and drinking it. And so it's time for us to start to think, okay, if they're going to take so much of it and they're going to do this, then I'm going to squeeze tighter, and I'm going to squeeze into me, and I'm going to hold on to the most valuable parts, and I'm going to do my part to not to bury or hide myself in any closet, or to let myself get caught in the tension or feel the pressure and the stress that I need to do this or I need to do that I need to pay even more out through the butt for to run a business or to be the business of my life. And so I always say my job is to work people out of me. Is that my job is that people might need to see me more in the beginning. And if you're still seeing me the same amount 5 years down the road, then I'm not doing my job. It's about being able to help you rise to be that independence of yourself. And that's where we are. And that it's not such a big struggle as we think it is if we just let go of the tension. If we just let go to things that we feel that we have been sold on, that we have to hold on to so tight. So it's time for us to look inside. What am I holding on to? What do I believe is me? What do I believe that I'm holding on to so tight that it's controlling me, or that I'm waiting to come back into my life, or I believe it's my personality or my identity? What do I believe? What am I letting have that much control over me and that much hold over me? And then setting ourselves free and finding that sense of liberation within is knowing that, support is one thing, ownership and control is another, and divide is another whole different ballgame. And the more that we try to divide people, and the more that we separate people, and the more that we distinguish people by well, you're better than this one, or you're more than this one, or you deserve more than that one, based on this or that, the more that we start to lose respect and dignity for humanity, and the more that we become less available to each other as a society. And the more that so when we allow ourselves to become open, and that we're not so closed in, and we're not so cult-like, and we're not so, cluster grouped, it's like, and this goes all the way back. I see it in the maturity. I've seen it in all of my adult life, is that cliquish energy. And to be a part of a clique or group, and to be a newbie coming in, and to be not allowed in, like, oh, we, kind of got to prove this is our people. We all do this together, and we all do that together. And you're allowed into a certain degree if it serves a certain purpose or for specific things, but you're not invited all the way in. Well, grown adults still do that. And we're doing that as a world, as a society. And it was stupid and wrong to me as a child. It's stupid and wrong to me through my adult life. It is even more stupid and wrong to me now. And the more that you evolve spiritually and emotionally, the more that you start to see some of this stuff that brings forth those divides. Now, sometimes you may teach, or you may become, your specialties, your what you do may be for, designed for a specific thing, and you don't have all the you don't have all the specialties and especially equipped inside of you to deal with, some of the other things in your life, and you may need to outsource or refer. So bring that into you. Where are you clustering up your stories? Where are you, like, have this little cliquish little, like past versions of yourself that is still very alive, and you're not letting the new you in, you're not letting the new energy, you're not letting light in, you're not letting, and so that becomes old. It becomes old, the conversation becomes old, the story becomes old. It's like dressing the same as you did 20 years ago, same thing. That is a sense of the trauma response that is holding all of those stories and all those little gangs and all those little cliquish little energies and all those things that you have been programmed or you did out of necessity of survival that now has hold on you and ownership. And when you set yourself free of that, when you let them go, when you can free yourself, it will be amazing, the change that happens in your life. I hope this message resonates with you. There's a lot to really explore. So everything that's happening in our outside world is happening within us. So bringing it all into us to see a whole community, a whole empire, a whole house, all the rooms, all the everything, and to clean house, to clean a community means that we got to come together. And so you got to come together with your mind, body, soul connection, with the connection to source, to the spirit essence that is of that kind of that second of you, that second coming of you, that walking into the new light by bringing light into the areas that are still shady and dark and that are old and old paradigms and the old way that we work and communicate, and we set ourselves free. And as we set ourselves free, we start to be able to create a more beautiful scenery, a garden, an essence, an open yard for people to come and go, for you to come and go throughout your own energy without getting stuck and stopped and judging and criticizing even within yourself. Today is the day to open up, to let those guards down, to set yourself free. And I hope this helps you in some way. Have a beautiful month of November. Definitely a challenge. Sometimes it's hard to let go of the way things used to be or the way that we did things, but it's time. Much love. Have a beautiful month. Bye-bye.